Hi guys, my name is Vila and I've been interviewing my dad about his 1997 Everest climb. He was on an expedition with Nova and with some pretty famous climbers like David Brashears, Ed Viesturs, Guy Cotter, and a few other ones. I'm a naturally curious person, so even though it's 30 years later, I wanted to ask him some questions about his climb. And I've been posting that on TikTok and here under the series called My Dad Climbed Everest and I Have Questions. So this video is going to be a little different though because it's an offshoot of an offshoot basically. It's more about the Everest Base Camp Trek, which we did in 2022, but in this video I interview my friend Meredith who went with us in 2022, and she experienced a lot of difficulties while doing the trek. She had food poisoning, some pretty severe altitude sickness, so she talks about that and just tells us kind of everything you need to know and what you might need to expect while you're doing the trek. She tells us about her favorite parts and what she thinks you should bring and all that kind of stuff, so enjoy!
I got food poisoning on my way up to Everest Base Camp in Nepal, and this is my story. I'm Meredith and I went with Dave to Everest Base Camp. When I was going to Kathmandu, everyone was pretty stern about not drinking the water. You have your own water. We had water filters, or I had iodine tablets to put in my water. So that was like really serious off the bat. And there was one day we were in Kathmandu. We were, I think, a day out from going on our trip, and we were sitting on a really beautiful balcony and they brought us some vegetables. And I think everyone else was like, better safe than sorry. But I was like feeling good and fine. So of course I ate a baby carrot. And that baby carrot made me lose a lot of weight because for the next probably 3 days I was constantly throwing up. We had to take a helicopter to, I think, Lukla, and I had to have a trash bag with me because I was so nauseous. Thankfully, I didn't throw up on the helicopter. I was coming down from my food poisoning, but like that entire first and probably second night, I was just yakking, and I would try to have so many electrolytes so I could rehydrate my body for the literal trek that I was about to do, but I would just throw it up. But I survived. I got altitude sickness on my way to Everest Base Camp, and here's what happened. I'm Meredith and I went to Everest Base Camp with Dave. I was pretty much sick the whole time in Nepal from altitude because I was coming from the Midwest where there's a very low altitude or like no altitude at all. So my body had never been used to higher altitude, but thankfully we did acclimation hikes, but it progressively was harder and harder on my body. So final straw for my body was actually after we went to base camp and we were going on another hike to Kalapatar, and it was the highest altitude we would have reached. And I remember waking up that morning and I thought, like, I woke up knowing something wasn't right, and I was just like, whatever, my body's just tired. I just freaking went to base camp, and then I was like, I just felt so sluggish, like I can't even remember, but I was like, okay, maybe I just need to eat something. And then I had a Luna bar, took a bite of the Luna bar, and I like couldn't chew it, and I was just being so slow, and everyone was like, are you okay, Meredith? I think I was really pale. Everyone looked at me with a lot of concern, and I was like, I want to keep going because it was supposed to be a really beautiful hike. I ended up like walking not in the right direction at one point, and then everyone was like, stop. So I think I ended up having like a brain issue. Yeah, I couldn't even like hold a conversation. Like it took everything in me to be like one small foot in front of the other, and I just couldn't even, like, I could barely think. It was really weird. So then I went back down and I didn't make the trek. I felt better as I went down. It was like, no, I obviously could not be doing a lot of like physical activity, but I remember I went down and I cried, and I was talking to one of our Sherpas, Fula, and I was like, I'm so sorry to make you come down. And he was like, it's fine, I've been up there like a million times. And then I was like, is it a really pretty view? Because I was still really sad that I was missing out. And he was like, no, you got the view, which was a lie, but he was making me feel better, and it worked. And I had some like hot lemonade basically. So that was like the cure, I guess. I just was pushing my body too hard, and my body couldn't do it. And sleeping at that altitude, I think, was hard on my body. So we had a pulse oxidometer, a device that measures your oxygen levels, and we would measure our oxygen levels like at least once a day. And I think the normal range was like 60. It was good to be in the 60s.
No, it was like 80. Like, you wanted to be 90.
Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Never mind. So it was your normal range. You want it to be in the 90s. The higher, the better. You want good oxygen. So mine had always been kind of lower, but never like alarmingly low. Just like, we should work on that. We should get it up. I needed to. We had breathing exercises, pressurized breathing, and there was one day we were higher and I did the oxygen and it was at like 30 something or 20 something. It was so low that it was like alarming, and I went back to my room and I cried because I was so scared. And then I went and I talked to, in our group, we had a nurse, a helicopter nurse. So he kind of talked me through, and he was like, okay, like, tell me what we did today. So I recapped him through the day, and he was like, okay, walk in a straight line. And he was asking me questions, and he was like, okay, I'm not worried because you're talking normal, you're acting normal, you can answer hypothetical questions. So that was fine, but it was scary, but I'm here to tell the tale. These are things that I think you need to have if you go to Everest Base Camp. I'm Meredith, and I went with Dave in 2022. I think you absolutely need electrolytes. I think I would be dead without electrolytes. I would be shriveled up somewhere. And I brought so much Propel. I love Propel and like Pedialyte, because one, I got really sick because of a baby carrot and just general dehydration from all of the movement you're doing and the altitude. There's so many reasons you would need electrolytes. And I drank electrolytes like there weren't enough in the world. So that like saved my life, probably, electrolytes. Shout out Propel. Another thing, maybe some type of like gum or stomach soother. Like sometimes like if you like suck on like a mint or a cough drop, it can soothe your stomach, because I would also get nauseous a lot. So like something like that I feel like is really helpful. Diamox also would be, without Diamox, that's an altitude medication that most people take and that I was recommended to take. I took, Zofran. Oh my god, I can't talk enough about Zofran. Zofran is an anti-nausea medicine. I took one every single day because I needed it. I was so nauseous. So yeah, that is actually my number one. I would take that over electrolytes, honestly. Really good sunglasses, I would say, because you are up in a mountain very close to the sun and it is bright. I hate wearing sunglasses. I like needed those sunglasses. I feel like this could be maybe a given, but almost too much of a given, so where you forget about it. But headphones, because you're with people all day, and I'm an extrovert, so I love talking to people, I love being with people, but sometimes when you put your headphones in, it's kind of like, don't talk to me, and it's like introvert time when you're not alone a lot. So I think headphones are good for that purpose, just to be like, even if you're not listening to music, just to be like, okay, I'm in solitude, I'm in silence, whatever. But also, if I was feeling discouraged, I would put on music. Like, I remember I listened to that song a lot from the Minion movie. This rainy day is temporary. That song. That was my like go-to.
I remember that.
Yeah. So that was good, maybe overlooked, because I would sometimes be like, get cranky and I'd be like, I should put in headphones. And it just like, This is my favorite part of the Everest Base Camp Trek. I'm Meredith. I went with Dave in 2022 to the Everest Base Camp Trek. My favorite part of trekking, one obviously was putting my body through something really hard, but being like, wow, my body can do this. And you get a new sense of gratitude for like what your body is capable of doing. And that was really, that just made me, I just want to be like, good job. So that's a kind of given. I feel like you can imagine that. I never expected to make the relationships that I made with my Sherpas and getting to ask them, like just literally talking to them every day, and they're so funny, and we would have like funny conversations, deep conversations, like they would tell me their life stories in the span of like an hour. And they did so much for they do so much and you don't even realize it. Like one time I fell down a glacier, like, but it was funny because it was like ice and they ran to get me, and it's just, that's nice. I learned they taught me so much Nepali, so now I know how to say bad words. My favorite thing I learned was One, which means like, oh my god. And so I would say that to the villagers and they would really laugh because I love that I knew that. And it was just so interesting learning about what their life is like. Like they still have arranged marriages, which I didn't know. So it was interesting talking to them about that. I don't know, you just form, like, I feel like they were my brothers. Oh, another thing that's really interesting is it's pretty typical to be named after the day of the week in Sherpa. So they were all named after the day of the week. Just like little things like that. I guess it's like forming a relationship with anyone, but you form a relationship and you learn about things you never could have known, not having had discussions and like just talking to people who don't live in the US and only live in Nepal. And that was like, oh my gosh, I still WhatsApp message them. I have so many pictures with them. Like it's a life-changing experience, and that was my favorite part of being in Nepal. These were some very random things I did in Nepal on my trek with Dave. I'm Meredith. So one really random thing about Everest and where we were is that we would eat yak cheese, and there's no like cows up there, and that's where you get cheese from, your dairy from. But everything when we were going up Everest there were yaks, so we would have yak cheese every day, and it was really pungent. But I ate some. Sometimes I miss it. And another really random thing, this is something you can expect if you go to Everest, if you trek to base camp. A lot of times I felt like I was on the moon. Like I imagined that this is what the moon would look like. Like there would be like craters